It's time for Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimpson and Kevin Scholla.
Susan Stimpson, welcome back.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great to be here.
Well, Sarah Palin, guns ablazing on Breitbart this past week, writing an article regarding Obamacare, which we've been talking about a lot, and talking about Ted Cruz and his part in it. We see all of these Republicans who ran, saying they want to stop Obamacare, yet now they're playing ball, and here Ted Cruz, not backing down. And I know this article really struck a chord with you. You really liked it.
I did like it, and I think that a lot of Americans would identify with what Sarah Palin is saying in this. I loved especially her line that said it's time for the Senate to put itself on cruise control, because how often do we hear people who talk like activists when they're running for office, and then once they are in office, they just vote with the establishment. And right now, we have our heel on the head of the serpent, Obamacare, and instead of crushing it, we're going to lift up our foot and let it slither away. And the point is, Americans are waking up to the increased cost of this expanded federal mandate on people. They're losing jobs, they're having reduced work hours, and their bills overall are going up, and as well as their liberty. And I think that the American people are ready for their leaders to put a stop to this.
And you have to love the plain English again from Governor Palin that we also get so much from Senator Cruz, talking about a backstabbing game that's going on in Washington. And then I like how she says to Cruz, we could compare shiv marks next time we meet, my friend. That was the quote from the line, and it's true.
It is true, and as soon as someone does emerge that has a voice that's resonating with the people and with grassroots, there's a definite movement, not just among the media, but among the established political class, to marginalize and crush that voice because they're interested in holding on to their power. And a case in point on this goes right to the heart of it. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you're exempting yourself from Obamacare, then exempt everyone from Obamacare. But that's not what Congress is doing.
Palin touches on the part here that Ted Cruz is doing all he can, and that if the other leaders don't stand with him, it'll be a loss, and not for Cruz, but for America, which is so true. Here's something I just don't understand why these establishment politicians, especially on the Republican side, don't understand. If they're looking at polls or worried about re-election, why do they think Obamacare is a popular thing? Because here's Ted Cruz, who is the only one really out there, one of the handful, Lee, Paul, a couple others, who is out there really speaking against it, and he's wildly popular.
Well, you can just look at the number of Americans who have expressed concern about Obamacare. It's 7 out of 10. In one of the polls that I saw, it's not like they would be going out on a limb to take a relook at this. And as Justice Kennedy stated in his arguments during the Supreme Court case, this fundamentally changes the relationship of the federal government to the individual. It's not something that we need our leaders to be weak-kneed on. We need them to have courage and not be concerned about their next election, but be concerned about their children and their grandchildren and what our nation is going to look like under this just oppressive mandate and expansion of the federal government.
I also really admire Governor Palin's, raw honesty here. She brings up some examples of what the media has done to her, and she actually puts in faking a pregnancy to abetting murder. I mean, for the fact that she's even, putting these ridiculous things in here that so many have gone after her with them, it's a credit to her. She's not ashamed to stand up to it and call them out on what they're doing to her, have done to her, and are now doing to Ted Cruz, and she flat out calls these media members weasels.
Well, I think that our concern doesn't need to be about what the media is going to say or what the establishment political class is going to say. Our concern should be what is the will of the people and what are they saying. And I believe that the people are desperate for leadership, for someone to actually lead on principles. And this is not hard to do, especially with something as egregious as this expansion of federal overreach with Obamacare. The American people, I believe, are behind stopping this from actually going into place. And I just encourage our leaders to have some courage themselves and do what they need to do to stop its implementation.
Absolutely. And as the governor says in the article, ignore the peanut gallery pundits. That's one word of advice. And I love this too. Woman up. Stand your ground and fight like a girl. That's something a lot of the men on the Republican side need to learn, Susan.
That's for sure. And Kevin, I just really appreciate the opportunity that we can speak about this and continue just to spread the word and to encourage our fellow Americans to step up to the plate as well and encourage your elected leaders to do what is right, and that is to do what they can to end the implementation of Obamacare.
And for our listeners who haven't seen the article, just go to Breitbart.com. It's under exclusive. Palin bombs away on Obamacare. Cruz is over the target. Susan Stimpson, glad you brought this one up.
Thank you, Kevin.
Susan Stimpson in Virginia. More Commonwealth Common Sense next week.